Hey, we live.
Hey there. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Dating God's Way. Yes,
That's great.
Dating
Wow.
God's Way. Hey, we're so glad to have you guys on. Hey, share this link with somebody. Tell somebody to come on in the room. We'd love to see you. Have you a part of tonight's conversation?
Come on
Yes.
in here. Yeah.
Come on in here.
Talk about some things
Yeah.
tonight.
Let's talk about some things tonight.
Talk about some things tonight. We
Hey,
got a
y'all.
lot of things we got some things to talk about. I won't say a lot.
A lot of things to talk about.
A lot of things. We got a lot of talking to do.
A lot of talking to do.
Ooh,
Hey,
man.
hey. A lot of talking been going on, y'all.
A lot of talking has been going on. And come on in here, Kanisha.
Hey,
Kanisha
y'all.
Michelle.
Hey,
Hey, I just run
hey,
y'all
y'all.
names together, Kanisha Michelle.
To
Oh, there
everybody,
we go.
everybody, everybody,
Kanisha
everybody.
her.
Y'all, hey, y'all.
Yeah.
Hey.
Come on and join the group. Share, like, share with
Share,
your
share, share,
friends.
share, share. Hey,
Because
everybody.
we are
Glad to
live
see you guys
tonight.
tonight. We are live and getting ready to get into our conversation tonight. Red flags in dating. Yes, that's
Yeah.
what we're going to be talking about tonight. We're just sharing. If you see, what are we doing? Looking down, we are sharing the link on tonight, Dating God's Way. So we are excited to share about some red flags in dating. What are some things that you should be mindful of?
For sure.
Yes, what some things you should be mindful of? What are some of the red flags? What are some of the red flags? So yeah,
Yeah.
we sharing our stream on tonight. Yeah, glad to see you though. Glad you are here. Glad you are here.
Good to see all of you all tonight. We're going to get
Yeah,
started in a minute here.
yeah. Hey y'all.
I hope
Hey.
all I hope all of y'all have been us being safe in this time of um,
Quarantine,
quarantine and reopening.
pandemic, reopening.
I was at Target today just to pick up a few things, and man, even though things might be open, Target might as well stay closed. Ain't nothing in there.
Go ahead. Go
There's
ahead. Go
nothing
ahead. Go
in there.
ahead.
Nothing in Target. My goodness.
All right. So I hope while Pastor Will's getting ready, I hope you guys have been enjoying the different episodes that we've been having.
Yeah.
On our page, you will see that we're asking you to share some topic ideas, some things you'd like for us to talk about. We're
Thank you.
open to some suggestions, so let us know some things you'd like to hear us talk about as it relates to dating.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I got to get my camera straight because my camera is.
yes. So some things that you would like to hear about while Pastor Will's getting it together. Some
Yeah.
things you'd like to hear us talk about, some things that maybe have been on your mind, some things that you and your friends been chatting about.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. So,
But yeah.
what we got tonight, Pastor E? So, red flags and dating. Red flags and
Yes.
dating. Um,
So yeah.
so red flags. When me and Pastor E talked about this, and we are. Oh, I got my bush on flake. I got my
Yeah, I wish you just leave it alone. But yes, Pastor Will has been picking out his bush all week, y'all.
I got the
Um,
ush bush. I got the ush bush going.
Daughter Tara says it looks nice. It looks nice. But yes, we are talking about red flags in dating. I was gonna read out some statistics.
Okay,
Some
talk
statistics.
about talk about your statistics.
Okay, so statistics show that 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men are either in an abusive relationship or have been abused. So not just physically, but emotionally, verbally. That abuse is occurring at a higher rate, not with women and men. 1 in 4 women, 1 in 7 men.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. So we want to talk tonight about what are some red flags, what are some things that you should be looking for, but also what are some things that maybe you should also be aware of with yourself.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah. What are the red flags? So let's get into it, Pastor E. Let's delve into it for the next 50 minutes that we have together.
Yeah. So I think, as we start thinking about red flags in dating, thinking even about the statistic that generally when you get into a relationship, you feel like, wow, this is going to be amazing, right? I mean, most relationships start off with a lot of niceties, a lot of, wow, this is great, Um, but there are certain things that you should look for, and you should be aware of as you build friendships and as you date. And that's some of the things that we want to talk about tonight. And I think the first one we're going to start on that we want to get into tonight is, you have a hard time with being yourself. Like you feel like you have to change yourself. Let's get into that one first.
Okay.
Okay, so one red flag is you get into a friendship with someone or a dating situation, and now all of a sudden they have all these things that they want you to change. Okay,
Mhm.
so we're going to say red flag number one.
Yeah. Red flag number one. If you can't be yourself, then you can't be the best of yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah, if you can't be yourself, then you can't be the best of yourself. You can't be the best of yourself for you or for anybody else. So, so that's definitely a flag when you find yourself changing so that person can like you or like you even more. You know, so
I
yeah,
think yeah, I think we should talk about it too from the church girl perspective. I'll get into the church girl perspective. That's one thing that we're gonna be getting into with what the church girl perspective. I think we also have to be careful, church girls, that you don't rush into a relationship with somebody and now you want them to change to your spiritual level, your spiritual this, your spiritual that. I think that's something that we have to be careful of because that's a red flag. Relationships like that don't work. So I
right.
think that is so I think that even though you may have a good reason because you want him to be a believer, you want him to be everything in God, but the reality is that's even a red flag of behavior from you as a church girl.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. What y'all think about that? Because a
Yeah.
lot of times we have behaviors where we want to change people, right? We think that, our way is the right way. And so we get into this mode of trying to make people what we want them to be so they're dateable to us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's a red flag. Changing someone, trying to make them into who we want them to be. That's red flag. And in the reverse, that's also a red flag.
Yeah, I want to pull up the scripture. So I'm gonna let
Okay.
you keep talking because I want to pull up the scripture because I think the scripture kind of highlight that kind of behavior a little bit. Not
Yeah,
all the way.
yeah. Yeah, so while he's pulling up this scripture, I want to hear, especially from my church girls, church guys that's on the broadcast tonight, how you feel about that? How you feel about you don't have no power to change people. That even if they are who they are, that does not a red flag is even you trying to control somebody's behavior or who they are. Let us know in the comment section what y'all think about that as a red flag. Because it's easy to think of it when you're thinking about yourself because you're like, oh yeah, I don't want nobody changing me. But what about the reverse? In your want or desire to change other people and for them to meet your standards. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Somebody
I,
said reality check. Yeah.
as they bumping in, when I
Yeah.
when I hear you talk about, am I in the frame? I've got
Yes, you in the
issues.
frame. You in the
I
frame.
got
Keep
I
going.
got
Yeah.
issues tonight.
Yes.
But as we talk about, having wanting to change somebody, it brings me to Second Timothy 3:5, where it say you having the form of godliness, but then it goes on to say, but denying the power thereof of such from such turn away, right? But it says, for this sort are they which creep into houses and lead captive silly women laden with sins, led away from diverse lusts. Yeah. So when people get into this place of that they changing, or they changing for you, or they changing for a reason.
Right.
And it's not a change of heart that God has initiated.
Come on.
You are opening up the door for just different, diverse things to happen.
That's right.
Right.
For them to display a form of godliness.
Yeah.
Because now they're becoming godly or becoming changed or becoming new for you, not because they've gone through some type of spiritual transformation. Right. Exactly. And somebody in the comment section said, well, what if they need it? What if they need to change? I think the part of that is, if they need to change, then that's something you need to do some praying, because that's not anything we can do for them. That's not something that we can make them do in a relationship. It's a red flag if you got a checklist of all the things that you want to change about something. My sister in the comment section said, how can you really like someone but you want them to change?
True.
Right?
Yeah.
Because everyone will have some areas they need growth in, but it's not our job, our position to change people. To this day, I've been married almost 20 years. It's still some things that I don't like about Pastor Will, he don't like about me. Certain habits and stuff we got. Guess what? We ain't about to be changing them.
Only God can do it. Hey, only God can do it. Watch him do it. Do it. Sorry. Okay. Got carried away.
You got way carried away. But yes, change is not a part. It's a red flag when change is coming from either direction. We're trying to change people, or people are trying to change us to be who they think we should be.
Yeah.
Spiritual people, transformation comes from God. Yes.
It comes from God.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we get into some more?
Yeah, let's go. Let's keep going. Let's go. Let's go.
Let's go. Another one we'll talk about is the guilt tripping. The guilt tripping.
Oh, wow.
The guilt tripping. Okay.
Wow.
So, let me give you an example of the guilt tripping. And so, somebody, you are dating someone, right? And the person that you're dating, well, let's just say that they did not get to call you. They stayed out late. They did whatever. They hung out with their friends or whatever. And now you decide you're going to put the guilt trip on.
Hold on. Let's go back. Somebody just wrote something, or we just seen something. And Sister Stephanie, she says, we can always grow together, right?
Oh, yeah, we can grow together, but the person has to want to grow.
Exactly.
That's the key when we talk about red flags. The person has to want to grow. You cannot grow with anyone who is content in being where they are. Right? And some things I wanted to change. Let's get into it for a minute. Some things I wanted to change about Pastor Will. I wanted him to change like this, be like that, right? But the truth is, he grew in areas, right? We've been from 20s. He grew in areas that he grew in over time, not because I was nagging him saying, you need to grow up, you need to do this, right? That's a red flag. That's possessive. That's the wrong type of we gonna grow together.
Yeah. And it's, many of these guys and many of these ladies, they are really great people. They are really great people.
Go ahead.
And you do have to ask yourself, I don't want to say, am I wanting too much, but am I allowing for change? Or can I accept even if they don't change?
Yeah.
That's the reality of it. Can I accept the person even if they don't change and they stay right here, they stay the same?
Yeah. If this is who they always are, can I deal with it? If this is it, am I okay with this being it? And that's a reality, right? If this is who they decide to be, am I okay with that?
Am I okay with that?
Am I okay with that? Yeah, like that's thing going in. That's
good. One of my things when I talk to some people, Pastor E, is I try to tell them, try not to fall in love with potential.
Yeah, I think they could be. I think they might be.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they might not
That
be.
might not never be. You know,
Ooh,
they
they
might
might
not
not ever
never
be.
be.
What? They might not ever be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And many of us have, I dream big. I dream
Oh,
big.
yeah.
I dream so big. And by this time in my life, I'm 46 years old. By this time in my life, I was supposed to have a private jet, um, in my third mansion, you know, with my private golf course and basketball course and football field in my backyard. Right? I had dreams. Pastor E knew my dreams,
I did.
but she couldn't marry my dreams. She had to marry who I was, who I am.
Oh, yes.
She had to marry. I had dreams of having multi-million dollars. I don't know how I was going to get it. However, she had to marry the $30,000 me.
Yeah.
And and knowing that $30,000 me was going to be well, not necessarily potential, but was going to, but she had security in that $30,000 me that I was going to provide for the future.
Yeah.
Not
Now,
with
now,
potential,
now, just
but,
to be
but,
clear,
but when I had then.
yeah, but just to be clear, he ain't never been a $30,000 Will. Never. Not since I knew him.
Not
But
since you.
anyway, the point is, the point is, who we were then, we definitely aren't now. But there
Yeah.
was no way to know that. There is no way to know who the person, quote unquote, is going to be in the future. You don't marry potential. You only can you only can agree to what you know now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things that my sister's saying that is good. That's one of our points tonight. Before we get back into guilt tripping, she's saying that most people only represent our representation of who they want people to see. Right. And that's another red flag. Before we get to guilt tripping, we're going to talk about red flags. And she brought it up. Red flag number 2. Red flag number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Red flag number 2 is this person showing you anything beyond the surface? Okay. Right. And so beyond the surface, do you see anything beyond the surface? Are they willing to share themselves beyond just the surface of what they want you to see? Oh, this is how I'm doing great with this, doing great with that. Are they willing to share some of those vulnerabilities, some of those insecurities? Are they willing to bring you around people who really know them? That's when you begin to see who a person really is. And that's a red flag number 2. They create a version of themselves.
Wow.
That you then are to be in relationship with, that version of themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. My probably my most nervous time is when I brought Ebony to the family reunion for the first time right before we got married. Because I ain't know what nobody was going to say, was going to do. Everybody knew we were engaged, or at least close to being engaged. But I was always known as Little Willie or Woo Woo or everything else. And it was, what stories will she hear, and how will she judge me after she hear these stories?
Yeah, look. When I took him to my family reunion, okay, let's talk about it. We talking about seeing somebody beyond the surface. When I took him to my family reunion, some people in my family was like, "Why y'all getting married so fast? What, you pregnant?" Look, I was embarrassed. I was like, "Oh my god, oh my gosh." I was like, But that's beyond the surface. That's, look, my family. What I'm gonna do about that? Nothing. Right? The stories that he heard, the stories that I heard, was a part of the unveiling of, if we decide to really do this who you got.
This is who you got.
got me and my whole family. Here we are. So red flag number two is, you know, is they only show you the surface stuff. That's red flag
Mhm.
number two. They just on the surface. On the surface. Okay. Red flag number three. Let's get back to it. Guilt
Mhm.
tripping. Let's get
Guilt
back to this
tripping.
guilt tripping.
Okay.
Red flag number three. Go ahead, Pastor.
No, go ahead. You got it.
Guilt tripping. Okay. And so this red flag number three about guilt tripping is I was using the example of, so she decided to hang out late with their friends, whatever the case is. And now you are guilt tripping, or you are putting on airs about, why they have to be out, why, all these different things.
Yeah.
But this guilt tripping is used as a manipulation tool. Okay. And so a lot of, I'll just speak for us ladies. A lot of ladies have learned that behavior is how you act to show like that you really interested, or you really, are committed, or you really are into that person, to get the guilt tripping on, and so this is a red flag number three.
Yeah.
When someone has to make you feel bad about your choices, right? And we're not talking about unhealthy choices. We're not talking about abuse. We're just talking about you chose to do something that they did not like,
Right.
that they did not want you to do. How you treat those situations is key. It's a red flag. How you treat making my decision, right? How you treat that. And you will see that will continue, not just in dating, but in marriage. That will continue, that when I make a choice that you don't like, are you going to start guilt tripping me? Are you going to start trying to make me feel bad about my decision, instead of saying, okay, well, you know what? That's your choice. That's what you choose to do. Whether I agree or not, or don't agree, I'm not going to manipulate you with my guilt.
Right. Right. This goes back to one of our earlier discussions in dating. For me, it goes back to one of our earlier discussions in dating God's way. Is um, expecting um, the person to be like your parent, right? How your parent treated you.
Yeah.
Like if your parent spoiled you, and then you bring those same spoiled behaviors into a relationship. You
Right.
understand what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so you start guilt tripping that person because maybe mommy and daddy ran to every one of your calls, but this person isn't. You
No.
know, and oh my gosh, now you start guilt tripping. Where were you? Where are you when you really didn't need that person? You just wanted that person to be there, and
Yeah.
maybe they had something to do, or they had competing. Oh, this is one of my favorite words right now: competing
Yeah.
priorities.
Yeah. Competing priorities. Come on.
Maybe they had a competing priority, but then you throw a fit, or have some anger behind, because you throw them into, you place a guilt trip on them because they didn't do
What you
what you
want them to
expected them
do.
to do. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they didn't have a competing priority. Maybe they just wanted to do something else. Even God gives people free will, y'all. Hey,
Yeah.
y'all. Even God
Some
gives
dumb
people
mode.
free will.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Now we have a question that's already come up. We're gonna go ahead and hit it. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and hit this question. It says, what if this is another red flag that she is bringing up? I love how y'all bringing up the red flags. Okay, now we love that y'all already bringing up the red flags. Love it. So the next red flag that came up is if genuinely you are around people and people say in that family that this person has bad character, that they really, these are some things you need to be aware of, because I've had that before. I've seen that within my family structure. Be like, girl, run the other way. So, it red flag. I think we on number 4. Red flag number 4 is, yes. It says the question is, would it have been a red flag if your family said, I don't like him or her after those family reunions? Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. That is a red flag. So that was the things
Mm.
I was watching for. I remember when I went to church with Pastor Willie, I was watching. Let me tell you guys, I was watching for red flags. I wanted to see what people were saying about him. Okay, what kind of
Uh,
person did they say he was? I was watching at all the ladies who was kicking around him and how he was responding to them kick. So yes, I think definitely you should be listening to what people who really know that person has to say about them.
some,
Absolutely.
sometimes you have to dig a little deeper and find out who's saying it and why they saying what they saying. Because remember this, sometimes everybody has an agenda, and you just have to figure out what agenda do they have for saying what they're saying.
Listen, some of them keys had an agenda, but we're talking about family now. So we're talking about family. We're talking about mothers and fathers, sisters
Yay.
and brothers. We're talking about people who really knows this person. We should be listening to that. We should be listening to what they say. We should be listening to what they say. Yes, absolutely. Yes,
Yeah,
because I remember, I won't say what family member it was, but somebody close to my family. I remember I used to tell women to run away from him. Absolutely. I used to be the family member that was like, run y'all, go the other way. I'm trying to tell y'all he cheating. I'm trying to tell, and you know what? They didn't really listen to me. They was just like, I didn't know what I was talking about. That's a red flag. Now, yes, family can have an agenda, but you better do some investigating when you start hearing patterns.
that's true. That's
Because
true.
those people do know that person. So, yes,
That's
that
true.
person can have grace to grow and mature, but you don't think that you're going to start looking for some of those things that they saying?
Yeah.
Now, I loved my family member, but at that time, he was a dog. I mean, he was really a cheater. My goodness. So, anyway, we're going to get off of that, but that's a red flag. A red flag. Yes, 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 yes.
What about this one, Pastor E?
Okay, come on.
It's on the screen.
It's on the
I
screen.
hear,
Okay. I hear a lot of couples say that their spouse brings out the best in them. Do you agree? Yes, 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 yes. So yeah, I think that a helpmate, a godly spouse, a good spouse should bring out the best in one another. Right?
yeah,
It's not like a one-sided. They should bring out the best in one another. But what I think that, talking about red flags, I think one way in which people don't bring the best out of one another is when we are in competition with each other or when we are trying to change one another. There is no space for that type of connection when you're talking about being, becoming one, right?
yeah,
When we are one, then we are agreeing to, meld together, come together in agreement. And I think that that is, it's true. It can be true. It should be true. But it's only true if some of these red flags, get rid of some of these red flags. Yes,
let's
yes,
keep
yes.
let's keep biting into it, Pastor E. Keep chopping
Okay,
into it.
let's get it. So, another one we're gonna talk about tonight is and this is my counseling hat I'm putting on right quick, okay?
Okay?
Is codependency. Okay, everybody's codependency. So another red flag is codependency. How dependent is this person on family, other people? They always living with somebody. They always need. They in your pockets. They always having some type of dependency. That's a red flag. Now, Pastor Will laughing because it's a truth, right? That things like that are red flags because it's something that continues within the relationship. So when you
Yeah,
have a codependent, what is a codependent? A codependent is someone who is so dependent on something or someone else,
right.
okay, to take care of their needs, to take care of their desires, right? And those are traits that you can begin to identify in a person that you are potentially dating or dating, right?
Yeah,
Noticing some of those habits and some of those traits and how they talk about people owe them, an entitled attitude is something that some codependents have, an entitlement attitude. You can also see an attitude where they feel like people, have to do things for them, almost like people owe them because they're in relationship with them.
Yeah, it kind of becomes a behavior pattern of them not having a pattern of being independent. But even when they become independent, their fallback in their security, whether good or bad, their fallback or security is to find somebody to be dependent on, even if they don't need it.
Correct.
Even if they don't need it, and so they go into unnecessary debt because just the behavior leads them into codependency. And when you have behaviors like that, things like that needs deliverance. If you find yourself in that place, you need deliverance from codependency.
That's right.
You need deliverance on knowing that you can't trust yourself to be independent and can handle it on your own.
Yeah, to take care of yourself,
right? Yeah, but you create this behavior of dependency.
Yeah. And so there are varying levels of codependence. And when we think about these varying level of codependence, we can see that it may not be that this person is, living with their parents or whatever. Sometimes there are legitimate reasons why those things are the case. That's not necessarily a codependent behavior. You're looking at the behaviors of codependence, though. That's the thing that, you're trying to get at.
Yeah, I was a very codependent person. That was one of my behavior traits, and until it was broken. I can tell you how it was broken when I lost the job and I wanted to go back to my dependency and say, hey, I need some help. But I had a wife that says, nope, you ain't going back that way. And she stood with me, and she didn't say this to my face, but I'm sure she said it in her prayer closet that we're gonna break this codependency that he has on him. And I since it was broken, I never had to be in a place where I had to be a codependent, because of behavior traits. And matter of fact, it for a man, it gives me pride to be able to do things and handle things on my own as a dependent person.
That's right. And so, some of those, and that's why I said there are varying degrees of codependence, because definitely, as Pastor Willie states, there were some codependence. There was some codependence traits. I had to evaluate how much of this is this something that he's going to have the expectation of me to be the breadwinner, all these things. It wasn't to that degree, right? And so when we talk about codependence, you're looking at what degree is it to, right? And I think that, we're talking about this situation, it was to a degree of when trouble comes, not a way of behavior of living. So I think that is a distinction when you're looking at codependence. Where do you see those traits of codependence at? That's an important thing to evaluate. Red flags.
But can I also say like a funny red flag, Pastor E? Okay. Like if they always want a new phone every 3-4 months.
Oh my gosh. Here he go. He has a theory about this. Pastor Will has a theory about this.
If their phone number got to change twice a year, all the time. Yeah, that's a red flag. I'm sorry. That's just a red flag.
Pastor Will says if you don't have the same phone number consistently over some period of time. Now I think that's old school, Pastor Will.
That's real old school. I'm real old school. But I come from the landline years, man. That's
No, my grandmother had her phone forever. His mom had her phone forever. So this is old school. This is an old school. Red flag.
Yeah, like people can't even sing Jesus on the main line no more because their phone just keep changing. They don't know what line Jesus on. So
right. Because the issue is not really about the phone. The issue is about that person's ability to hold on to a phone contract right? Just hold on to. Look, it's about their ability to make a commitment.
That's
At times, that is the essence of what he's getting at with the cell phone.
whew. I
Yeah,
remember,
use
yo,
that
when I
cell
had,
phone.
yo, when I had my beeper,
Here
when
we
I
go.
when I had my man, I had a new beeper every year because man, beeper companies kept looking for me. I mean, they would come. Beeper companies was vicious on the in their debt
Yeah,
collection.
back in the day, people companies were vicious. Yes,
But
vicious.
it was my level of instability and my
Yeah,
level of non-commitment and
yeah,
to something. It shows my
yeah,
commitment to something. When I put my name to it, did I stand by my name? And I think that's what I'm trying to get at, or that's what I'm getting at here, is
yeah.
that it kind of when you kind of you like asking, why does this company have to do my credit check? Because they're trying to see what your commitment level is like.
Red
That's
flag.
why they give you the low and high interest rates, because
Yeah,
because they want to see, oh, your commitment level isn't to a point where we trust you with money, so we're gonna just tax you with a higher rate.
yeah.
Anyway, but as credit checks go, as background checks go, as your phone number changes, it kind of shows a pattern of behavior that
Yeah.
you have to, they put up the red flags.
I see the red flags. We got the red flags tonight. Yes. Got the red flags. Everybody agreeing with you on this cell phone. We got the red flags. Yes. We have another question at 8:39, Pastor.
I saw it come up. Is,
8:39.
is this the one
Yeah,
here?
that's the one.
That's
Yes.
the
So
one.
what's the difference in codepending and being spoiled? What's the difference in
Ooh,
codependent and being
that's Ty
spoiled?
Renee. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, I think, I do think that there is a fundamental difference in someone who has codependence issues. They are really dependent on someone else. And then someone who wants to be catered to, which we're going to call spoiled tonight, that
Yeah.
wants to be catered to, right? And I do think that, especially for women, who have a desire to be spoiled and receive a lot of different things, I think that that is a red flag. A red flag as well, right?
Yeah.
That when you I'm sorry, I'm looking at the comments at the same time. When you have someone who is spoil you and they want their way, I think that's also another red flag, because in a relationship is give and take. So there are going to be some times that you're going to have to compromise and you're not going to get your way.
Yeah.
So I think, both can be red flags. If you're not willing to bend or give because you think the world should revolve around you,
Mm-hmm.
that's a red flag,
It's a red
because
flag.
marriage ain't going to work like that. It's going to be some point in that relationship when that person is going to need more.
True.
They had a baby, more. They lost their job, more. They had a sickness, more. They had a relative to die, more. So there's going to be a point when you're going to be faced with a situation where you can't be the one that's being catered to. Red flag.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think codependence for all of us is a red flag. You got to be able to give.
Yeah.
Be able
Yeah.
to compromise. I
Yeah.
compromise.
And I'm not. I think we're not saying these are reasons to
Well,
shut down the
let's say that
relationship.
we're not ready to say that yet. But okay,
Okay.
so we
All
not
right.
saying that, but we gonna get into what we saying about red flag. Don't go to the
Okay.
end yet. Don't go to the end
Yeah.
yet.
'Cause I'm running
Yeah,
to
because
the
I know
end.
you're getting worried. You don't go to the end. Don't get worried. Don't get worried. Okay, look, another one. This is how we do. Don't get worried.
Ooh.
So another one is being possessive. This is a red flag.
Being
Possessive.
possessive.
Okay, when you start hearing stuff like, I couldn't concentrate today because I ain't talked to you.
Mm.
I'm nothing without you. I don't know if I can go
Mm.
on. Okay. Now, some of that might sound romantic,
Mm-hmm.
but more to the point, a lot of it gets into possession.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's an area where we have to be super duper careful, right? When
Yeah.
we start getting into possession where someone is owning you.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't feel like I can go on today because you weren't there and you weren't this and you weren't that. And it's like, no, wait a minute. We need some boundaries.
Yeah.
Because that's possession, right? You don't feel like you can go on without me. That's getting into some other areas. That's getting into some danger. That's a red flag. Okay. And
Yeah.
there are even some low, that's a high level of it. When you say that, everybody like, oh, but it's some low levels of that too, where you start to feel like if somebody is not, catering to you, then you having a panic attack and you weren't able to be yourself today and all these things. All of that is a red flag. It's caution area.
Yeah.
Possessive. And I think when people get in relationships with people, Pastor Will, they get somewhat possessive.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And you kind of kind of know the behavior. Oh, I can't go outside because if I go outside and I tell them I'm going outside, then they're gonna be mad because I ain't telling them I was going outside.
Yeah, that's crazy
and,
stuff.
yeah, and and like you said, it starts off cute, it starts off romantic, it starts off, oh, he really loves me, or she really loves me, or they really dig me, or whatever. And your friends will make fun of you. They tell you stuff like, oh, you whipped, and they say all these other things. But it's really red flags should be going
Yeah,
up and
yeah,
say, okay, am I my own person at this point of time?
yeah,
You know,
yeah. Am I being possessed by somebody else? Right? Because when we stop giving people the space that they need, right? We stop giving the people the space that they need to be themselves. Where you going?
yeah,
I didn't. I felt like this because you did this or did that or whatever. Some of those insecurity becomes possession because
yeah,
now you feel like you have control over somebody's time, have control over somebody's thoughts, control over how somebody is, spending time with their friends, with their parents, with their, why you always got to be going over there? Why you always got to do this and doing that? It becomes a possession. And so that's another red flag.
but you know what, Pastor E, because I go back to growing up, and to how past experience can kind of shape our current conditions.
That's
Is
good.
that we found some may have found out that that's a way of love. If,
Yeah.
if they possess me like this, or if they show me this kind of behavior, then that means they really love me. When it
Yeah.
really doesn't.
No.
You know,
When that's a
it,
possessive, yeah.
let me go a little bit deeper. I'll just say that it's a familiar spirit has found its way home, and
Woo.
that familiar spirit has found you again.
My goodness.
Yeah, yeah. So it's really not love. It's really something familiar that has attached that you associated with love.
Wow, 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 wow. Okay, so let's unpack that for a minute. So you're
Okay.
saying that wow, you're saying that
Yeah.
pain, you're saying that pain and past experience, past abuse, because
Yeah.
that's what it is, right? Past abuse becomes a space where how you identify love.
Right.
You identify love through that familiar spirit of abuse.
Yeah.
And you start looking for people to love you like that, and you start loving people like that. I think that is key. Key, 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 key. And I hope y'all still on here tonight because before we get off, we're gonna talk about what to do with the red flags. Because some people think that red flags, as Pastor Will was about to just give out all the answers, is just to shut it down, right? But
Yeah.
but what do you do when you come to a red light? You do stop. And these are areas when you stop and investigate. You stop and look deeper. You stop and get counsel. You stop and maybe go to counseling.
Stop and pray.
Look, you stop and pray. You stop and seek God. You stop and get spiritual counsel. You stop and go to a counselor. Not only if you see these red flags in other people, but if you see these red flags in yourself. You
Yes.
see, because we love looking at the outside. Everybody else got this red flag, that red flag. But what about when these red flags in you? And you the red flag. You see
Yeah.
now? So it's important that these cause a stop, but it takes a stop to me. It's not just about the other person. It's also making sure I'm not the red flag. I
Right.
don't possess red flags that somebody else needs to be stopping, halting, and holding because of.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's good to ask, your good friends, what are the red flags that I'm carrying that you notice in me? So they can
Yeah.
say, dude, I think you're a little controlling, dude. You know,
Yeah.
I remember, me and one of my friends, we hung out one night, and he was telling me his story, somewhat about his personal life, and I said, look, man, could you be a little bit prideful in this? Did and when we talked about it, and it was a really good conversation, and
Yeah.
and and at the end of the day, he was like, you know what, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Sometimes we need somebody to ping off on so we can see ourselves.
Yes. Yes.
You know,
Because
I,
it's
I
yeah.
yeah, I say this one last thing, and then you can remember what you're gonna say, Pastor E.
I
But
remember.
I remember this one last thing. I remember one day I was caught up in the worship so much. I was at the altar years ago. I was caught up in worship, and I believe I saw the glory of God to the point where I saw me as a mess.
Yeah.
I saw me as a messy
Worshiping.
person
Shoo.
worshiping. Because when you're truly worshiping, you will see your mess. You will see how much of a mess you are.
My God.
And so some of us just got to get to that place where we
Yeah.
can be honest enough with ourselves and see how much of a mess that we are.
Wow.
So those red flags can start to clear.
Yeah. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. We got like two more red flags. We got two more red
Okay.
flags.
Two
Two
more
more
red
red flags.
flags.
Two more red
All
flags.
right.
Before we get it all the way together. Because
Off
Pastor
the
Will
red flags.
tonight
Off
want to
the
get
red
us
flags.
all the
Yeah,
way. He didn't
I
worship
know.
and see yourself. Pastor Will want to get us all the way
Yeah.
together. Let's give our two.
Yeah.
Let's get our two last red flags.
Two
One of them is comparison. Is a
lines.
red flag. Oh,
Yes.
you know what? I wish that you was more like so and so. I wish you
Mm.
was more like Beyonce.
I knew he's gonna say that.
I was gonna say that. Go ahead, know me. Look, I wish our relationship was more like, Pastor Rah Rah and them. I wish that we was, I wish that we was tight, like, that couple of hustle and flow. I wish that was us. Anyway,
Yeah.
comparison.
Yeah. Oh my.
Comparison that a lot of times comparison makes its ways into a relationship or to a friendship or to a budding dating situation. Comparison, right? And so that is a red flag. If you have to compare me to somebody else, I wish you was more like this, I wish you was more like, all of that is a red flag.
Red
That's
flag.
a red flag. Why we gotta be compared to somebody else to be great? Oh, I wish we was like Michelle and Obama. No, I don't. Hey, I only wish we like Will and Abe. I mean, comparison will take can also become a space where now you become controlling, where the person becomes controlling. Because if you are not living up to my picture, my standard, my imagery, how I see you, then we have a problem. So
Yeah.
comparison also is a red flag.
Yeah.
You want to go to our
Yeah.
last one? Or you gonna hit that one? Hit it.
Yeah. I'll hit that one because you're probably gonna say this one in the last one. But yeah, because when you start to do the comparison, then you start to do the competing,
Oh,
right? When you
ooh,
start comparing, then you start competing.
mm-hmm.
Because at some point even if you become like who you idolizing as a couple, right?
Yeah,
Even after you become, then what's next? Who do you
yeah,
become next?
that's
Who's
right.
the next thing who the next power couple and I want to say power. I'm gonna put quotes in quote. Where's my camera at? Quotes. Yeah, there you go. Quotes. I'm gonna quote power couples. Because I think I'm really kind of falling out of love with that statement. Uh,
Yeah,
but it's it's really, not really about, but the more you compare, the more you compete.
that's right. Now we're trying to make it to somewhere. What we trying to
Yeah,
make it to? The goal of marriage is oneness. So
right.
when I'm dating, if we're already in a competition, we competing with the people across the street. We competing with people on social media. How we doing? Like how much we showing each other affection, how much we doing this, that, and the other. Once I get into that space, I have now, as Pastor Will says, I'm now getting into a space where not only am I comparing, but I'm competing.
Yeah,
This the last one. This the last one. The last one. The last one. Last red flag is any undertones of abuse. Any undertone. Okay. So it is not a joke for somebody to say that, oh, you keep talking to me like that. Oh, I slap you. Oh, you did it. None of that is a space of, that's a red flag. Oh, I was just really angry. That's why I was started throwing stuff across the room. Nope.
yeah,
Any undertone of abuse is a red flag.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh, now you will start driving the car faster because we having an argument. Oh, that's a red flag. You gonna stop the car and tell me to get out? That's a red flag. Any undertone of abuse. Oh yeah, when I get mad, I just start, acting like this. It's a red flag. I don't care if, oh, now you mad, you gonna storm out the restaurant and leave me in there looking crazy.
yeah.
Nah, it's a red flag.
It's a red flag.
It's it's a ISSA. It's a red flag. It is. Any undertone of abuse. That's emotional abuse. That's you calling me out my name. That's you insulting me. Oh yeah, you real trifling. Nah. Any undertone of abuse is a red flag.
Yeah,
Period. And somebody said, my sister, she said, this is my oldest sister. She said the biggest red flag, any
yeah,
undertone of abuse. That is something that you need to be watchful for. Remember, going back to the beginning, what did our statistics say? 1 in every 4 women have suffered some type of abuse, emotional, physical. 1 in 7 men have had some type of abuse, emotional, physical, something that they have went through. And so this is a red flag that you should be watching. How does this person speak about his mother? How does she speak about her father? How does she speak about other relationships in her life? How does he speak about, because if they're unhealed from those relationships, they may carry that abuse into a relationship with me. Red flag.
yeah,
You know that movie that we watched, Pastor Will, with the Clark sisters? And you
yes.
see they had that scene where the boyfriend, I don't even know he was the husband yet, hit the mother,
Before
and
that,
everybody like, oh,
the scene
he
where Maddie Moss threw his shoe was a red flag. We're like, look, yo,
correct, correct. But because, let's get into that for a minute, because she was a product of abuse.
yeah, that's
Her
absolute.
mother, her mother threw shoes at people. Her
Yeah,
father beat her mother. She
abuse.
allowed certain things in her relationship that should not have been so.
It just
So even when,
it
go
became
ahead.
familiar. It
It's
became
a
familiar.
familiar spirit, as you said. And so even when we have been through abuse, we must now raise the red flag and make sure that we become healed, so that we are not raising red flags, so that we're not comfortable with abuse.
Yeah,
That's also a red flag.
yeah, yeah. As I'm thinking and I'm pondering, it
Yeah.
it kind of go back into how knowing the how God has built us, knowing the characteristics that God has created us with, and understanding um, what's not even worth me being in.
Yeah.
you know, I know it was a funny joke that they may have said, but really, is that could that funny joke leads to me losing my life?
Shoo.
You know what I'm
In
saying?
any form, physically losing my life, losing who I am, my identity,
Yeah,
losing who God's created me to be, who He's creating me to be. Am I
yeah,
about to become so consumed by another person that I don't even know me no more?
yeah.
That's abuse. Isolating you from everything you know, everyone you know, so that y'all can be something. That's abuse.
And this is why premarital counseling is needed.
Yeah,
you know, um,
it is.
relationship counseling is needed. Um, and here's something that's I hardly hear say it, and I think I'm gonna put this in our write up for marriage counseling or premarital counseling and our disclosure agreements or whatever, that you have to choose that if something comes out in this counseling that you don't like and that you need to leave this relationship, then you need to sign this agreement. Because
Yeah,
it ain't no need of trying to counsel you through something and you just gonna stay in the toxic relationship,
that's right.
knowing that all these things are there.
Yeah,
So we have to have an agreement also that if these kind of red flags show up, then the relationship is severed. We have to sever this relationship before
yes.
it gets to the part of making us one. Because when you become one with all of it.
Yeah, yeah. And abuse is a red flag. That's not just a stop. It's a stop and get out.
Yeah,
It's a stop and get out. Some of these red flags, people can go through counseling, people can become whole, people can get it together. But some of these red flags, when you see them, you need to run because that person is not dedicated to becoming whole, dedicated to, you know, being delivered from place of abuse and place of you need to run. And if you yourself find yourself in these red flags, you need to run as well. Run to counseling, run, run to a place to get help. It is
yeah,
essential. So when we talk about tonight, red flags and dating, where we want to drop this at, we done went through many red flags tonight. Where we want to drop this at, we want to drop this in a place of if you see a red flag, stop.
yeah,
Don't think, oh, you know what? This just gonna change. This just because he had a bad day. This just because she, was in a bad relationship before. There are no excuses
yeah.
of excusing yourself out of something that's gonna be toxic for you.
And I want to pray for you that some of these red flags have rubbed off on you
Yeah,
because you have been in some of these relationships,
yeah.
and you have um, had soul ties with these red flags. So through these soul ties, some of these attributes of this red flags has it now attached to you,
Woo.
and now you excuse some of those red flags, or
Mhm.
you display some of those red flags and don't even know it.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
break that off your life in Jesus' name.
Yeah, we break that tonight in the name of Jesus. Everyone who has become attached through a soul tie to someone who is abusive or possessive or manipulating or controlling,
Yeah,
we sever those ties in the spirit that night in Jesus' name. Yeah.
amen. You got characteristics that's not yours. That's a soul tie.
Oh, yes. You got characteristics that don't belong to you. It belongs to the one that you were tied to.
Yeah,
It's time to break it.
yeah. You start to sound you sound like that person, or you still have, y'all had a way that y'all talk to each other and you still talking that way and y'all haven't been together in 5 years. That's a soul tie.
That's a soul tie. And we're going to get into that. That was one of the subjects that I had put on the board for tonight. But how do you break away from old relationships? How can you make sure it is fully broken? No more residue, none of it. When you
Yeah,
left, all of you needed to leave with you.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, we're going to definitely get into that as one of our topics.
Yeah.
all the way. All of
Jesus'
it need to be
name.
gone in Jesus' name. But yeah, red flags. Please share this. Share this with a friend. Share this with a friend. Share it with a neighbor. Share it with a coworker. Share
Yeah.
it with a family member. Because these red flags are taking us as a people into toxic relationships. We are seeing, you know who gets hurt in divorce? Children, right?
Yeah.
Children are harmed in divorce. And I think it's essential that we look at these types of red flags in the dating stage so that we don't get to the divorce stage.
And not only divorce, even just in in a single family environment that I'm not trying to pity nobody's child. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah,
it's just that the child is is left without a mother and a father full time in the
that's
same
right.
household. There are some benefits to that. There are many benefits to
Oh, to
having
having
both
both
parents
parents?
in the home.
Absolutely. I didn't grow up with both parents. My husband did. I did not. And so there are definitely, I had both of my grandmothers and I'm a grandfather, both of my grandparents in the home, my grandmother and my grandfather, but still, it was not my mother and father. And so I say all that to say, watching these red flags, being aware of these red flags is not just for your now, it's for your future. Right?
Amen.
We talking future talk. Right? Watching the red flags is not just for you having a nice dating experience. It's about you having a nice future.
Yeah,
Thinking about your future. That's what we talking about when
that's
we
what we
talking about
talking about.
dating God's way. Y'all, we're gonna do this again next Tuesday. I
Yeah.
hope Pastor Will and I can do the X one, the get that X out of there. That's what I'm Pastor E calling it. Get that X out of there.
Woo. Yeah.
Get that X out of there. We're gonna be
Woo.
right back here, 8 o'clock next
Yeah.
Tuesday.
And then we got to learn how to stream the Instagram. I think. Yeah. But yeah.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody said we need to get on over to Insta.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
so we're gonna
so,
check it out.
so that's why we need y'all to seed into the DW stream support, so we can buy more streams
Check our
and
technology out.
our technology up and send it to more places. But thank
Got it.
y'all for joining us every Tuesday night. It's been about 13 weeks now, and thank you for joining us for these past 13 weeks. And we'll see you next week on the next episode of
Dating
God's
God's
Way.
way. Dating God's way. Thank y'all for joining.
Thank you for
Thank you.
joining.
Dating God's way.